warm welcome to Personal Finance. I'm Gugulethu Cele. Now, as we head into the end of the year, we always know that there are some concerns with regard to security as well as card fraud. But to tell us more about what the statistics reveal and even provide some guidelines as to what we as consumers can do in order to protect against such risks, I'm joined in studio by Kalyani Pillay, who's the Chief Executive of SABRIC. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kalyani.
A pleasure, Gugu.
There was a recent announcement with regard to the statistics involving card and fraud levels in South Africa. How do we fare for the moment?
Well, firstly, some good news. We've seen a 28.6% decrease in credit card fraud, which is great. The figures are still high. We're still seeing over 250 million rand in terms of losses. But the incidents have certainly come down and losses have also come down. But unfortunately, we have seen an increase in debit card fraud, 8.3%. So, it almost 10%, really not acceptable at all. What we're seeing is that between the credit card and the debit card fraud, we're seeing that card not present transaction with credit cards is actually increasing, even though there's a decrease, but within that category, that particular modus operandi is increasing.
So just to explain that for those individuals who probably have your credit card number, the PIN, the CVV number.
Yes, they need to have the CVV number. These are relating to online transactions. So when you purchase via any website and do your shopping, which is a great way to shop. But I think the important thing for bank clients to look out for, and what we're really encouraging people to do, is to register for 3D Secure. It's one of the additional authentication tools that are being provided by the banks and the card associations. So we're saying, please go onto your bank's website, register for 3D Secure. What happens is that before you complete the transaction, it'll call for an authentication code. And that's an additional bit of security that's on. It really is there to protect you with your online transactions. With debit card fraud, what we've seen is within that category of debit card fraud and all the different modus operandi, we've seen a significant and a growingly, and of a concern to us, trend that lost and stolen card is the bigger one. What that means is that for the industry, we categorize it as lost and stolen. Predominantly within that category have been stolen cards. So this seems to be happening more at ATMs. So people using ATMs, putting their card in, doing their transactions. And what's happening is that the perpetrators, because they know that the gaps are closing, that the banks are putting different preventative mechanisms and tools in place and software, and well, the chip and PIN is one of the key things that's actually caused this, perpetrators have had to look for alternate ways to try and get access to money. So what they're doing is that they're compromising bank clients at the ATM. So they interfering with people, or alternatively offering them assistance because they've already done something to the ATM. So we're saying to bank clients here, please, the biggest rule, we've been saying this for years, whether you're in or out of the country, it applies anywhere in the world. Please cover the hand that's inserting the PIN. So when you're putting your PIN number in, always keep it covered, your hand covered. Because if there is an ATM mounted device, which we call high-tech skimming devices, on that machine, it's not going to copy the PIN number. Even if it copied the mag tape data and they can make a counterfeit card, they can't use it if they don't have the PIN. Also, by covering it, you also will, if anybody's trying to shoulder surf, trying to look over your shoulder to look at your PIN number, you're going to block that. But people shouldn't feel shy to tell somebody that's behind them to please stand a little bit away. Don't let people stand too close to you. I think people just tend to feel a little bit shy and not want to appear to be rude, but really, you should be mindful for that. The other thing that's very important is that if your card, or if you're having a problem at the ATM and your card's jammed or you're unable to do your transaction, call your bank immediately while you're standing at the machine and stop that card. Because if the machine's been tampered with in any way, you want to be able to have that card stopped before you leave, because the perpetrators tend to use that information very quickly after the compromise. So rather stop the card, and you'll be able to prevent any losses from your account at all. So these are some of the things that we're saying to bank clients. They're the same messages. people just need to remember it and to be extra vigilant about how they transact and how they do their banking. Make sure that their card is actually, after being swiped, that it's returned to them. Because of PIN technology, more often it's not the swiping, but it's the inserting into the point of sale device.
Oh, yes.
But people should also remember that you shouldn't just cover the keypad of the ATM, but the keypad of the point of sale device as well.
So even when you're in a store as well, be very conscious of that.
Absolutely. I think, it must become second nature to us when we're using our card. Don't even hesitate to say you'll put the card in yourself. It's not a problem. Rather you touch your card, not let anybody else touch it. Push it in. When it calls for the PIN, put the PIN number in, block the keypad, and these are all the safeguards that you need to put in place, because criminals know where the vulnerabilities are. Exactly. So they'll always go for that.
And I take it, given the time of year that we're about to enter as well, people are a lot more relaxed and we tend to be a lot more carefree. This is when we need to be more cautious.
Absolutely, and also because there's lots of activity and also spending increases.
Yes.
When spending increases, it creates better opportunities for criminals, so there's more spending, it's busy, so of course better opportunities for them.
I want to come back for a moment to the actual time when, as a consumer, you call your bank to notify them that your card has either been involved in fraudulent activity or actually lost or stolen. The necessary documentation or necessary type of information that you must have on hand, are there certain nitty-gritties?
Sure. What you need to have is your bank's call center number. It's a 24/7 number. You need to keep that number with you. You need to contact your bank and say to them, this is the problem with my card. If you can't read your card number, you will be able to give the bank sufficient information for them to locate your account, and they'll be able to stop that card. Banks are able to provide people with new cards in a very short space of time, so bank clients won't be inconvenienced that much. I'm sure it'll be a little bit of an inconvenience, but at the end of the day, it's the criminals that actually put you in this position. You really want to stop that. So bank's call center number, always on your phone. Make that call immediately, but also importantly, keep the call center number of your mobile service provider also at hand, because with what we've also found in some instances, and more particularly in the past, is that SIM numbers are swapped, so you get the SIM swaps, and if you lose signal for an unreasonable period of time, you need to be able to call your mobile service provider to find out what's going on. It's not as if you're going through a dip or bad signal area. You lose signal for a short while, couple of seconds or so. Here, if it's long, a period where you're worried, why do you not have signal? Call your mobile service provider to find out whether anybody's applied for a SIM swap on your number. It's those kind of things that we need to have handy with us.
Because that also impacts on the one-time passwords and PINs
because
that
that's
we get.
where when you're doing if you're doing your internet banking, your one-time password is going to come, especially if you're doing once-off transactions, and so at least you'll get that. The other thing to remember is make sure that you register for the updates with regard to any payment that's made out of your account, so that you receive notification every time money moves out of your account. Because if somebody is using or taking monies out of your account unlawfully, you're going to be notified quickly or immediately, and it'll give you the ability to contact your bank to stop that card before any further payments get made out of your account.
Exactly. Kalyani, just to wrap up the conversation very quickly tonight, I take it the key takeaway points that consumers need to remember, what do they entail?
The key things: always cover the hand that's putting in the PIN, register for 3D secure, look at the URL when you're doing online transactions. Make sure that before you put your card details in, that you've got HTTPS in the URL. Hover your cursor over the whatever's typed in the URL. If it changes, close that website immediately. If you hover your cursor and another name comes up there, close it immediately. So I think it's just about being careful, being vigilant, taking all the precautions. Don't take anything for granted, and know that the criminals will look for where those vulnerabilities are.
Exactly. Kalyani, thank you so much for your time today and for giving us your expertise and analysis and sharing some of the trends we've seen with regard to credit card as well as debit card fraud in the country. Well, that's where we leave it for Personal Finance tonight. A big thank you once more to Kalyani Pillay, who's the Chief Executive of SABRIC. Do be sure to get in touch with us and share your views. You can tweet any of your comments or suggestions to @CNBC Africa using the hashtag Finance410. Until next time, it's goodbye for now.